so find a way to.
Hello, beautiful beings of light. My name is Monica. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be talking about superstition and the law of attraction. Before we begin the video, I want to give a personal life update and let you guys know where I've been since I've been a little MIA for the last few weeks after I uploaded my last video. And what happened was, in the middle of November, we got the sad news that my mother-in-law passed away. And she was literally the first person I have ever known to pass away that I was close to. It was my first time going to a funeral and doing all of those things, seeing a dead body and a casket. It was a lot to process and a lot to take in. My husband was very close to her, and I also felt very close to her. She was like another mom to me. So I took it very hard and grieved a lot. I cried a lot, which felt really good, honestly, because it was such a release of emotions and of energy that was in my body. And we are currently in Arizona for the winter, and so we had to drive 2,000 miles to his hometown in Michigan for the funeral. And that took a few days to drive, driving really long hour days. We spent about a little over a week with his family, and then we took another few days to drive back to our RV. And when we got back, we both took some time to both grieve alone as well. And it came as a shock. She was relatively young. She was in her early, to mid 60s. It was all of a sudden. It's not that she was ill for a long time or anything like that. She passed away, we believe, peacefully in her sleep. So that was really kind of comforting to know in a way. And also, although I'm very sad, I'm also comforted by the fact that I personally believe my spiritual beliefs about death are that we never really truly die. We're just energy transformed. It's kind of like getting into one vehicle, or it's kind of like getting out of one vehicle and going into another. Our physical body is dead, but our spiritual body or our light body or our soul goes back to source, I believe. And I believe there it's all love. There's no pain, there's no fear, there's no lower vibrational emotions such as anger and jealousy and sadness. And from there, I believe we can become spirit guides or angels to other people, or we can reincarnate again on this earth, among many things that I think could possibly, among many possibilities I believe that can happen once we cross over to the other side. Another thing that happened was last weekend, my husband and I were hiking and something happened with my ankle. I didn't feel it twist or anything, but it was really hurting. I spent the last 3 days or so in bed, just resting and sleeping and healing. And that's why I've been away for a while. I know it's not necessary for me to have to explain myself or anything, but I just felt like sharing that here on my channel with this community. And I am back today and I am ready to start making some more videos. So let's get right into the topic of this video. Okay. So superstition. I do not consider myself to be a superstitious person. And I know many things come to mind when we think superstition, such as it's bad luck to have a black cat walk across your path, or to spill salt, or it could be good luck to wear a jersey that you never wash on game day when football is on, to support your team so that they will win. I'm sure many of you guys have heard those types of superstitions. They're pretty common. The reason that I'm thinking about superstition and the law of attraction right now is because I had a coworker at my last job that I had a few years back, and she was, I would say, very superstitious in the sense of if we mentioned anything that we didn't want to happen, she would constantly say, knock on wood. And she would tell me if I were the one saying it to knock on wood, physically, literally, and if she was saying it, she would knock on wood. And I found myself really buying into this belief system of anything that I said that I didn't want to happen, I would either say knock on wood and or literally knock on wood. So then that got me thinking as to there are many people who believe in the law of attraction, but there are also many people who don't. And I feel like some of the people in that category who don't subscribe to the law of attraction, that they may be superstitious too, in that sense of the, oh my gosh, I don't want something bad to happen, knock on wood. So then I realized that superstition can kind of relate actually to the law of attraction, because people are afraid of attracting something that they don't want. Or it could be the opposite, where they have positive superstitions where they believe if they do something, if they perform some type of act or ritual, then it will happen. But right now I'm just talking about the negative side of it, of things that you don't want to happen. So then I asked myself, why is it that people, including myself, sometimes tend to believe that only bad things can happen to them? That is a very low vibrational belief. And why is it that we also don't believe that really good things can happen instead? Why does it always have to be the worst case scenario? So I consciously got myself out of the habit of doing the knock on wood ritual, and instead thinking about the best case scenario of what could happen in that situation. And then I set an intention for it, such as I manifest blank happening, whatever the best case scenario could be. So if you happen to be one of these people who, like me, fall in this category of thinking that bad things can happen and being superstitious in the knock on wood way, I want you to also ask yourself, why do you believe that bad things are most likely going to happen in certain situations? I honestly don't know if I have that full answer yet. It's something I've been questioning myself. I don't believe it's one of my core beliefs that I came up with. I think it's more something from society as a collective. Sayings such as, if it's too good to be true, then it is. And beggars can't be choosers. There are so many beliefs that we have that we don't realize are not ours. And they run in our subconscious programming that we're unaware of. So that's why I like to say, don't believe everything you think. Really question your beliefs once you figure out what they truly are. And once you question those beliefs and you have your own answer, I can't answer it for you. It's something each individual, I believe, has to figure out for themselves. Then consciously decide if it's something that you want to keep, if it's serving you, or something that is no longer serving you and you prefer to let it go and replace it with a new, more positive, higher vibrational belief. If we believe that bad things can happen to us, then I feel like we should also believe that good things can happen to us. I don't see any reasoning why it all has to be bad or negative or low vibrational. I feel like I'm a very optimistic person overall, and I do like to focus on the best case scenario. And I just remind myself that if it does go worst case, which like 99% of the time it doesn't, but if it did, or it went into a way that wasn't in favor of what I wanted, I like to remind myself that everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to. And even when something seems bad or negative that's happening to me in my life, that it actually is serving a purpose that is going to help me later on. If I can't see it right then and there, it's always something that's going to be serving me, that's going to help me that later on that I may not see at the moment. I believe in this realm of duality that nothing is really good or bad, it just is. And everything we do or happens to us, or I should say for us, is just simply for the experience. This earth is like a school for us to learn. And every experience may feel like it has pros and cons, but let's not just completely focus on what we feel the cons are. Let's look for that silver lining as well. We can acknowledge the things that bother us, that we consider are cons, but we can also acknowledge and focus more on what we consider to be the pros of the situation. I think when we focus more on the negative aspects of what's happening, that creates a fear, false evidence appearing real, and we feel like we're being productive in a way if we're being fearful of something potentially happening in the future because of something that because of a situation that we're currently in, or fear that we could be in. And it's like a survival mechanism. It's a tactic. And I feel like our ego is simply trying to protect us. And not just protect us physically, but also protect us emotionally. So it wants to process or pretend to process imaginary worst case scenarios so that we can kind of prep ourselves in the future for it if it happens. And also it wants to predict exactly what's going to happen because it wants to be in control. And by predicting something that it doesn't want happening, feels like it's in control and that we're right. Ego loves to be right. And therefore we feel like we're doing the right thing and we're being productive by being afraid. But the other option is we can always choose to trust that everything is happening in divine timing and everything is happening for us, no matter what. And to choose to trust and to live within our heart space, to go with the flow and know that everything is working out for us, even when we can't see it. And I've noticed some people will predict or try to predict what's going to happen. They'll say something like, oh, I know, or this is what's going to happen. I know I'm going to lose my job because this, and this. You watch, you see. And I'm just like, wow, words are so powerful. And you were literally putting energy into manifesting that outcome. It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but the more energy we put towards something, the more we're building it. So that's why we need to be impeccable with our words. And the last thing I think is that many people are afraid to take full radical responsibility for everything that happens to them. It has taken me a long time and it has been very challenging, but I have chosen to take responsibility for everything that happens in my life and the way that I respond to it. And that's what responsibility is. Your ability to respond to a person, to a situation, to anything that's happening that you're involved with. Because when we don't take responsibility and we blame outside people and circumstances, then we are choosing victimhood, which is very disempowering. But when you take responsibility, your ability to respond, you're empowering yourself instead. And that is a place that you can create from. If you created a circumstance, you take responsibility for it, you can uncreate it as well. We are creators. But I feel so many people are afraid of their own power. They don't realize it, and they won't ever acknowledge it. But I feel it's time to step into our power and realize that we can create anything. Alright, that is my video for today. I hope that you enjoyed it and got something from it, something resonated or something stuck, and maybe helped you to think a little bit differently about the superstitions that maybe you might have right now currently, or maybe even people around you, and to think about it when you're imagining the worst case scenarios and hoping for the best but preparing for the worst and knocking on wood and all of that good stuff, that maybe you'll have a little different perspective on it and know that everything is always working out for you. And as always, I hope to see you in my next video. Peace and much love.